welcome everybody to the Millionaire Bachelor brand. If anybody wants to contact Millionaire Bachelor, is discord.gg/Millionaire Bachelor. After a while, we will, move from Discord. But for now, it's a meeting room for everyone to talk about anything business related, any questions that you have. Millionaire Bachelor, at this point in time, I'm not selling my time, in terms of courses and stuff like that. I'm not doing it. If somebody really desperately needs that and wants that kind of information, let me know. And I'll have to pretty much put that together. Also, visit me over at kitchenplease.com. That's my website, where clarity, life, and strategy meet. I want to start off with a disclaimer. The most important strategies, insights, and takeaways, they're revealed at the end of my streams. And that's because Millionaire Bachelor actually takes this very seriously. And, I prepare for this stuff. I create monologues, and I take this very seriously. So for me, I want to welcome everybody to the Millionaire Bachelor broadcast, a space where honesty isn't optional. It's foundational. This isn't about spectacle, hypermotivation. This is about clarity and recalibrating your lenses on life so that you can see things for what they are, not for what people have told you. And I also want to say, when I get done with Marquette, the mask from you will be removed. Not the one externally, but the one internally. The internet will understand why Millionaire Bachelor is Millionaire Bachelor. My uncanny ability to see through people. The uncanny ability to see you for what you are. A kid that was never loved. A kid whose father was never there. You're just a hurt boy. So we'll get into the discussion.
Polo vest 1X, whirlwind, one girlfriend, no ex. That might be kind of far-fetched. Confident, never brag about how good I sex. Surrounded by flashy lights and the famous, but shizzle away from cynicism and gang bangers. Valet park in Denmark like I was Danish. She wanna vacate, so I reservate on Uranus. Draped in Versace, no it's purple label. But if this was 96, we was Jiggy and Foxy. Spectators try to invaders inside the lobby. Don't say cheese, we throw cheese at paparazzi. Now snap that, why this pretty just stalk a nigga like NASDAQ. I be in a NASCAR, smoking on that Iraq. No actor, just a chiropractor, bringing it back to it.
So today, I'm here to lay a verbal ass whooping to someone known as the Saint in the Center. And, I do this out of not joy. I do this out of help. I think the Saint in the Center needs an intervention. I think somebody needs to let the Saint in the Center know who he is. In my personal opinion, have you ever met somebody who's truly happy? I'm not talking about the Instagram happy, not the champagne and a rented Lamborghini happy. I mean real peace. The kind of happiness that doesn't need to shout. The kind that doesn't need the spotlight. The kind that doesn't need to fall apart when the lights go out. Because here's the truth. A person who is truly happy, when they're morally upright, they don't hoard success. They don't flex it. They don't gatekeep it. They share it naturally, generously, without fear, without ego. And that's why Millionaire Bachelor came to the internet. I didn't come here to tell you that I was better than you. I came to remind you that you're better than you think you are. I didn't show up to brag. I showed up to build, to hand out blueprints, to open the door I had to kick down alone. I have the cars. I take the trips. I had the nights where everybody knows your name and nobody knows your pain. And I'll be honest with you. None of that compares to helping someone finally break free from the invisible chains that they were put in as children. If you were ever doubted, ever overlooked, If you were ever told just be realistic, that's why Millionaire Bachelor is here. See, when your life's finally good, not just externally, but internally, the only thing to do is give. That's morality, not rules, not judgment, responsibility. When you can help, why not? Because success without service is just vanity with a bank account. So when people ask, why do I do this? Why do I go live from Georgetown? Why I give away what some charge thousands for? The simple answer is because I remember what it felt like when I had no map, no mentor, no margin for error. And I swore that if I made it out, I wouldn't close those doors behind me. So I'm here for the hungry ones, for the quiet geniuses, for the men who are tired of being angry and ready to become something more. And to those that think this is just a guy chasing checks and clicks. Nah, this is Millionaire Bachelor. I'm here to share the peace, the power, the purpose. And this is what real success looks like. I think about the saint and the sinner, and I say to myself, have you ever noticed the kid who's never seen the inside of the detention hall, who strides through the hallways as if he's the CEO of Mayhem Inc.? It's a masterful exercise in aesthetic juxtaposition. You don a hoodie, tilt your cap, just so, and suddenly you possess a PhD in block diplomacy, rather than a spotless record in the math club and peacekeeping, which we all know you are. Before long, you're not merely Johnny from Mrs. Carter's homeroom. You're Johnny Knuckle Thompson, the only teenager to have stared down a vending machine and emerged victorious. In truth, it's indefinitely more fun to cloak your weekend in an aura of these clandestine exploits than to admit that you spent Saturday helping grandma perfect artisanal sourdough. Because let's face it, architect of perfect sourdough lacks the same mystique, resonance as midnight cookie capper. And when a single time glare sparks the rumor mill, it churns out tales of you body slamming a swing set for sheer exhilaration, or executing a flawless heist to liberate the last slice of pizza. Before you know it, you've gotten yourself a free pass where nobody will take your snacks in the lunchroom. Nobody dares to lift a finger. It's a clever metamorphosis of identity, and I would call it a idiosyncratic performance that transforms the mundane existence into a living legend. In a world that is perpetually starved for drama, there's no greater performance than to engage in a sophisticated game of 4D chess with your own reputation, revealing just enough to tantalize, while concealing the truth that you're just an undefeated champion at Netflix and Nap. Who and what makes the saint in the center of this tough guy that comes to the internet and wants to masquerade as this thuggish character? See, the things that I understand is when you become an accomplished and a successful man, you come from impoverished neighborhoods, you no longer want to embody the thuggish character type, because that's what you ran so far from. Why go backwards? It's like the 30-year-old individual that now wants to be a gangster. And when you were called out on multiple occasions by myself and also by someone else known as Aaron the Plumber, you were nowhere to be found. Millionaire Bachelor doesn't give you lessons from a pimp. Millionaire Bachelor gives you lessons from a man. The character type that you have created is a damaging one. And I understand your need to feel tough, because the world doesn't give men the room to be anything else. From the time that you're a boy, the rules are written in silence. No one explains them to you. Just learn. Toughness is not a choice, it's a demand. If you don't show it, the world tests you. Friends test you, strangers test you, even your own family might. And if you fail the test, there is no sympathy, only consequence. Toughness becomes your passport. It's how you move through places that don't care who you are unless you can handle pressure, chaos, and disrespect. Being tough means you don't flinch. You don't explain yourself. You don't need backup. You don't lose control, because the minute you do, the world smells blood. And I understand it. And it's not just the streets, it's the boardroom, the classroom, the locker room. Every space a man walks into, he silently asked, can you dominate this space, or will you be dominated? Men live under constant examination, one that nobody wants to admit exists, but everyone grades you on. And if you don't pass, you become a target. So we learn to walk with weight in our voice, to move like nothing rattles us, to stare through people, not at them. It's not bravado, it's protection, it's strategy, it's armor you wear so no one dares test what's underneath. But Millionaire Bachelor is testing what's underneath. I want to see what this character is. Millionaire Bachelor is the only man on the internet that has been able to defeat these individuals, because I am what they want to be. I see through them. And it's evident. The truth is, being tough isn't about fighting. It's about earning respect before ever being disrespected. It's about making sure that no one mistakes you for someone who can be played with, and that becomes the code. A quiet, unspoken code that shapes everything. You can't undo it overnight. It's wired into how men succeed and also survive. How they stay standing when the world doesn't give them grace, doesn't give them time, and sure as hell doesn't give them a second chance. So individuals like the Saint in the Center, they stay tough. Not because it feels good, but because in this world, it's the only language people understand. Or the fake facade of being tough. Being a man is not about showing the world that you can fight, especially in the world that doesn't really operate that way, especially in a world like America that if you fight through all of your problems, you'll get nowhere. You'll end up in the same place that you started. The person that shows his aggression is the person that is the loser, because you've already put on a performance for the world, and that's all that you are, Saint in the Center. You're an individual that cosplays. And my question is, why would you cosplay that which you have deemed you are? You are the mockery. You are the individual that is taking America to the zoo. You show these people how to not be. What guidance are you giving these young men? You're giving these young men guidance to end up in situations in which they can't control their own emotions, in which they explode and let the whole entire world see the deck that they're playing with. A true businessman does not get upset, does not get angry. A true businessman does not blow his cool. A true businessman understands the lay of the land and moves forward with conviction. And I say this, it's damaging and somewhat hilarious when someone like the Satanist Center tries to act tough like a war-hardened street general, when in reality, he's just a regular dude with a somewhat decent upbringing. Maybe a chaotic upbringing, I would say, and a weird obsession with pretending that he's the villain from a 2003 rap video. You grew up ducking EBT receipts and broken promises, not bullets. Let's tell the truth. This is a man that is not a product of the streets. He's a product of YouTube monetization and unresolved daddy issues. Raised by a sweet, overworked grandmother, God bless her heart, with a mom who made the occasional guest appearances in the crack scene, and a father who specialized in petty fraud, which ironically is how the Satan Center moves his main business model. They say the hardest thing to do in life is to escape your father's shadow. In this case, the Satanist Center has turned it into a brand. He didn't just repeat the cycle, he upgraded it. He made it HD, threw on a suit, added a ring light. That's not reinvention. That's camouflage nostalgia. For a lifestyle he never lived. He's not a gangster. He's a cosplayer and coach loafers. And the real comedy, he probably lied about everything. And he's the same type of person who would also cry watching The Lion King. He probably says, yes, ma'am, to his grandmother and takes his vitamins on schedule. But the moment the cameras turn on, it's like he's auditioning to be in the cast as the final boss in a Tyler Perry crime drama. Let's stop it. You're not the Godfather. You're a motivational speaker with Wi-Fi. And here's where it gets dangerous. Not for him, but for the dudes that are watching. Young men who grew up in similar mess, but never got guidance, never got the love, never understood. And now think that masculinity means being emotionally unavailable, borderline narcissistic, and performatively violent. This man is selling trauma in a tuxedo. With all the confidence of someone who just discovered the word stoic last week. He's not inspiring. He's offering misguided validation to a generation of confused boys trying to find their footing in the world that keeps moving the goalposts. Instead of something and showing these individuals it's okay to be smart, funny, strategic, he gives them TikTok clips and a discounted code for manipulation. What's really sad, he could have been different. He could have broken the chain, become a beacon for audacity, creativity, and healing. But instead, he said, nah, let me just finesse my way to the top with a pocket square and recycle street lingo. That's not masculinity. That's plagiarized survival. And it deserves more pity than praise. Millionaire Bachelor was the one that was really outside. Millionaire Bachelor is the one that was really in these impoverished neighborhoods going through things that are, for the most part, things that I wouldn't want anybody else to go through. And they're not things that I want to glamorize. That's why Millionaire Bachelor doesn't lead with being this tough guy. Millionaire Bachelor leads with his intelligence and his artisticness. Because that's how I want people to remember me, not by putting on a cloak as an individual that is ready to fight you. Today, we have the intervention of the Satan Center. And I want everybody to get one thing clear. There's a particular kind of pain that's hard to describe. It's the pain of a young black man who's never truly been loved, not protected, not seen, nurtured, just tolerated, and eventually abandoned. Most people don't recognize it because it doesn't look like pain. It looks like ego. It looks like confidence. It looks like a man who's got everything together. Or at least who wants you to think he does. But underneath all of the performance is a boy who was never given the chance to actually be a boy. No bedtime stories, no I'm proud of you. No safe arms to reminisce in, just survival. That's what most of us were raised in. Not homes, not families, survival units, where we learn toughness before tenderness. where we learned how to fight before we were taught how to feel. And we paid the price for it. You ever see someone fabricate manhood so long that they forgot they learned how to be human? That's the saint in the center. That's his tragedy, not the crimes, not the contradictions, but the fact that he built a whole identity out of pain and called it purpose. Because when you're never really loved, you'll try to construct love out of respect, control, power, and fear, and you'll fail every time. This is why Millionaire Bachelor is at peace. Because I had to go through these life lessons on a higher level. He's not a villain. He's a cautionary tale. You can't counterfeit healing. You can't manufacture intimacy. You can't inspire others to grow when you've never been held long enough to know what growth feels like. And it's not just him, it's a generation. Young black men who have never received love, so they chase it in applause and validation in women and the internet. But no amount of external worship can fill an internal absence. We don't need role models. We need more real men. Ones who are brave enough to say, hey, I was never loved the way I needed to be. I didn't have my father because he was in prison and it fractured me. That's the real truth underneath the mask that Satan the Sinner hides. Because that's the truth. And until he can face it publicly, painfully, and without shame, he'll always be that fractured boy that never had a father, the occasional crackhead mother, and a grandmother that was given the burden to have to raise him. Somewhere inside the Satanist sitter is a kid who just wanted to be held. And I've seen that all too often. Millionaire Bachelor is a veteran of these streets. And I want the people to see the real you. And many people might ask, Millionaire Bachelor, why do you want the people to see the real Satan in the center? Well, namely because you fuck with me and you said that you wanted to kill me. So now I want to show the world who you really are underneath this veneer that you call truth. Underneath having to couch surf for 3 to 4 years. And then proclaiming to be this great guy. You're not. Millionaire Bachelor, the purpose of me being on the internet, is to actually have people see the real truth. To see real conviction. I don't need to get upset with you. I've already offered you $50,000 and you've turned that down. Aaron the plumber already said he would go to Atlanta. You already turned that down. So that lets me know exactly the type of man that you are. You're not one. You're just still a scared boy. And I feel sad for you. Very sad. I would just encourage you to start understanding your own personal finance. Stop letting Bridget buy everything for you. Stop instructing these young men to how to live life unmorally. Grow and heal. Let's look at some of the chats. Clyde, smack my head. Absolutely. Just a has. Okay, thank you for that. Marquette is an imposter. Absolutely. Marquette is an individual that claims to be, something he's not, and he puts on a cloak, and he really just perpetuates the same stereotype that has, led so many black men down the wrong path, and that's just aggression. And this is a world in which if you show aggression, you're actually showing the world what your true intention is, and I don't think that that's the correct way to go about it. And the reason why it's not the correct way to go about it is because you never want the world to understand what you really know. How is it that the person that wears the mask bears more of his soul than the person that doesn't have one?